AE World War II is an alternating activation skirmish scale miniatures game. Each player controls units made up of one or more models. Here we have one unit of 3 emaciated soldiers for the Germans, a unit of 2 American airbornes, and a single unit of an American airborne officer. Players take turns in activating their units one at a time. After each player has activated all of their units, the turn ends. When a unit is activated, each model in the unit spends action points. The number of action points a model gets is based on their training level. Green troops get 1, regulars get 2, vets get 3, and elites get 4 action points. Action points can be used to move, shoot, engage in close combat, or use special abilities. A model can spend 1 action point to move a number of inches equal to their movement score. The model can also choose to spend all of their action points to run a number of inches equal to triple their movement score, though most models cannot run over terrain and must run in a straight line. Here, we'll have these 2 emaciated soldiers run closer to the airborne. A run that ends in contact with the enemy is called a charge, and is followed by a close combat attack. To make a close combat attack, both models roll 1 6-sided die and add their close combat score. Because this soldier charged, he gains a +2 bonus to the roll. The emaciated soldier rolls a 4 for a total score of 10, 4 for the roll, and 4 for his close combat score, 2 for charging. The airborne rolled a 5 for a total of 8. The airborne has been hit. The emaciated then rolls to determine the total strength of his attack. 1d6 is added to the model's strength score. Charging models get a +2 to the strength of their attack. The emaciated rolls a 3 for a total strength of 8. 3 for the roll, 3 for its strength, and 2 for charging. The defender must now make an armor check by rolling 1d6 and adding their armor score. If the total equals or exceeds the strength of the attack deals no damage. The airborne rolls a 2 for a total of 5, not enough to block the attack. The airborne suffers 1 wound and is removed as a casualty. The emaciated soldiers have a training level of green, and thus have only 1 action point each. We place an activated marker to show that they have already been activated. High strength attacks can inflict multiple wounds, and many models will possess more than 1 wound. Because 1 member of the unit has been killed, the remaining members of the airborne unit suffer a -1 to their drive, or morale. We'll discuss more on morale in a moment. Ranged attacks are handled very similarly to close combat attacks. This lone airborne will attempt to take revenge for his fallen comrade. For 1 action point, he will fire his weapon. Some weapons have a high rate of fire, allowing the attacker to fire multiple shots for a single action point. Because he's armed with an M1 Garand, this guy can fire 1 shot for every action point he spends. When making a ranged attack, after the target is announced, measure the range to the target. The Garand has a 24-inch range. If the target is further than half of the weapon's range, the attack suffers a penalty. The airborne rolls 1d6 to hit and compares the result to his range combat score. If the result is equal to or greater than his combat score, the attack hits. In this case, the airborne rolls a 2, and the attack misses. However, his training level is regular, and he has another action point that he chooses to use on another attack. This time he rolls a 4, and he hits. To determine the strength of a ranged attack, each weapon will have a static strength score and a number of 6-sided dice that are used to determine the total strength of the attack. The airborne rolls 1d6, getting a 3, and adds the weapon strength of 4 for a total strength of 7. The emaciated rolls his 1d6 for a result of 2, and adds his armor 3 for a total armor check of 5. The emaciated suffers a wound. Luckily, he's got 2. As the German player has no more unactivated units, the airborne officer is now ready to roll. AE World War II has a dynamic morale system. Each unit has a drive score that determines their morale. As players' detachments suffer casualties, the units in the detachment lower their drive until they will eventually rout. A player can mitigate these drive penalties by using models with the command ability. Here, the remaining airborne has lost 1 point of drive from his total of 4. Though he's not in danger of routing, it's important to remove penalties whenever possible. The airborne officer can spend 1 action point to use his command ability. He selects a single unit within 12 inches and removes 1 point of drive penalty. Failure to remove drive penalties will result in models succumbing to rout and fleeing from the battlefield. Routing models also impose drive penalties on friendly units, thus causing a cascade effect where players' detachments will flee from the board unless they work actively to prevent them from doing so. With a training level of Veteran, the airborne officer has 2 action points remaining. He will use 1 to fire his Thompson submachine gun at the wounded emaciated. That emaciated is 10 inches away, over half the range of the weapon. He rolls 3 dice because of the weapon's high rate of fire, and gets a 2, a 4, and a 5. Only 1 hit because of the long-range penalty. He rolls a 3 on that hit, and adds 3 for the strength of the gun, which is a total strength of 6 for the attack. The emaciated soldier rolls a 4 for a total armor of 7. That attack is blocked. With his last action point, the airborne officer fires again, this time scoring a 3, a 5, and a 6. 2 hits are rolled, and their total strengths become 6 and 8. The emaciated soldier makes 2 armor checks, with his totals being 6 and 7, suffering his last wound. The remaining members of his unit now suffer a -1 drive penalty. Now that all the models have been activated, this turn ends, and we can start the next turn of the game. This is just a sampling of the tactical depth of AE World War II. For more, join us at blackballgames.com.